And I'm introducing myself, Chair, because I don't know this minister. I'm seeing this minister for the first time. When a 13-year-old girl gave birth in Sihle Hospital in Limpopo, teenage pregnancy, I never saw the face of this minister.
For now, we will not be calling MacG to appear before our portfolio committee at this stage. We will support your complaint, Honourable Deputy Minister, to the BCCSA.
Very embarrassed on behalf of the minister, Minister Mmapaseka Steve. The reason I'm embarrassed is she's taken to the cleaners by Sihle Lonzi, and I've told you before that Sihle is a gem. I've told you before that the economic freedom fighters in Parliament, they feel one of the best strikers in Parliament. But I don't want this to be about party political points. But what I'm saying is the ANC, with the repertoire of skill sets across the nation, they still fail to protect themselves. And in fact, yesterday I spoke of how I even compared how Panyazali Sufi, as good as he is, he would obviously struggle. Because he's in the ANC. I give you an example of Sisikoto. These ministers are so poor in delivery of the thing that they're supposed to do that it's so shameful. But let me do this. Let me just give you an opportunity now to watch Mmapaseka being taken to the cleaners by Sihle, and then I'll come back. Let's see.
I think I must start by introducing myself to the minister. Minister, my name is Sihle Lonzi, Member of Parliament, deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters. And I'm introducing myself, Chair, because I don't know this minister. I'm seeing this minister for the first time. When a 13-year-old girl gave birth in Sihle Hospital in Limpopo, teenage pregnancy, I never saw the face of this minister. When cases of Cwecwe came, Boy in Matatiela, Alu, I never saw the face of this minister. When last year, between I think October, December or so, there were more than 120,000 reported cases of teenage pregnancy in KZN, in Gauteng, Limpopo number 3, and I think Eastern Cape number 4. I never saw the face of this minister. When the rape victims of Omotoso didn't receive justice, and the judge literally said it was as a result of the incompetence of the NPA in her judgment, effectively saying these people were supposed to receive justice, but because of the inefficiencies of the prosecutors, the NPA, a rapist is now free to roam the streets of South Africa. I never saw the face of this minister. So I don't know them. And I think really that then calls to question what makes this, if it is not grandstanding, if it is not populism, if it is not selective activism, why must Parliament be dragged to this particular case, which members have correctly said that perhaps if you are looking at cyberbullying, it can form within the ambits of the Portfolio Committee on Communications, Digital Communications, and the likes. When about half of the young people in South Africa are unemployed, remember this is a Portfolio Committee of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities, was sitting with almost half of the population of young people are unemployed. We don't know these people. So that's why we get to be surprised when all of a sudden they emerge out of the woods and then they want to push particular agendas in Parliament, even when the agendas are genuine, because I must concur with the members, really the footage is distasteful. So the agenda is genuine, but because the delivery of the messages of questionable character and ethics, now we're made to ask questions to say, why is this being brought to this parliament? And perhaps, Chair, we must just give a very quick education, because I heard some members of parliament saying this committee has a responsibility to implement laws. Chair, I think both you and I and other members would have at least have a basic understanding of how government works in South Africa. We'll appreciate that the three arms of state and government have three very different mandates. You've got the legislature, which is us, who writes the laws. You've got the judiciary, which interprets the laws. And then you've got the executive branch, which must then go and execute and implement the laws. So when the member says this parliament is not implementing laws, I get to be very confused whether members of parliament and even the minister themselves understand really the real mandate of portfolio committees and parliament, which is to oversee and act as a check and balance to the executive branch. Now, Chair, we've got the Commission of Gender Equality. We've got the National Strategic Plan on GBVF that Cyril Ramaphosa likes to talk about in his very unpassionate sonas. Now, the question we must then be able to ask the minister and the department rather is this a vote of no confidence on those particular entities? Because that's when we then come in as a check on the executive to say, all these entities which fall under the department, which are supposed to deal with these issues, the Commission of Gender Equality, the strategic plans which are there, and many other entities that are supposed to deal with these very critical and important issues, have they failed to deliver on their mandates? And if the minister must then come to us and say, look, we've failed to deal with GBVF in society, and we're asking Parliament in its oversight duty to perform oversight over government departments and entities, to then come in and say, all of these nice words that we like talking about in SONA, all of these commissions that we like establishing, all of these useless structures that we spend millions and millions of South African taxpayers' monies on, are not doing their work when it comes to implementing the national strategic goals and plans on GBV in South Africa. And when there is that vote of no confidence in those particular entities, then us as Parliament, within our mandate, we then come in and say, it is now time to intervene, because Cyril Ramaphosa has failed to fight GBV in South Africa, because the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities has failed, because the Deputy Minister has failed, then Parliament must be able to come in. So when the Minister runs to this committee, it's declaring of a vote of no confidence on themselves as the department, because the department must play that role. The department must play that role, and we must then do oversight over the department to say, in as far as the mandate of the department is concerned, have you been able to deal with these issues in society? And then if they are saying to us, no, we've not been able to deal with it, then as Parliament, we can be able to come in. Because I'm happy because I listened to one of the interviews of this particular minister or deputy minister, and then they corrected the remarks which we saw in the media that they are summoning this individual to Parliament. Because my first thing was that they've got no powers to summon anyone to Parliament. That's a decision that we must take as members of Parliament and this particular portfolio committee. They've got absolute, these ministers report to us, were the ones who are in charge of Parliament, who are running Parliament. They don't get to tell us what we must do in Parliament. But I'm happy because I think sanity prevailed, and after some time they were able to say, no, we're going to ask permission from this particular Parliament to look into this thing. But I am extremely suspicious of this selectivity that we're seeing. And I think this has been echoed by other members of Parliament, to say that we don't know these people. We never see them when these cases of GBV come out. We never see them when very sensitive and important issues come in South Africa that deals with the violence that we see against women and children in our society. But we get to see them on certain cases. Why is that the case? So the minister, I mean, they may or may not respond to that particular aspect, but it was important for me to raise this to this Parliament, to say that we must not be allowed to be derailed from our program. We've got a very clear program as this Parliament, Chair. We know what our mandate is. We know what it is that we want to achieve. We've already resolved, by the way, even before the department had resolved, to say that we're going to go to Matatiela and look into that particular aspect in Xwexwe. And we did it as members of parliament because we could see that there's a silence. We could see that there's nothing that is coming from the department. There's nothing that is coming from the South African Police Services. So we have to do some joint venture together with other portfolio committees and go and look into these issues. So I take exception, not to the case itself, because it's a very important case and we condemn what happened there. But I take exception because the characters which are presenting these cases in parliament are not only, don't understand parliament processes, or if they understand them, they just undermine them. But they are also very selective in the types of cases that they want to bring before this parliament. And then perhaps, Chair, in closing, I would be interested to know from this minister, because we've been engaging with this case, even in our media platforms and even in many other engagements that we've been having. And then people reach out to us that, that person may be related to someone who was working in that podcast and got to be released from that podcast. I forgot the name, Manaka. So I wonder if you've got any commentary to make to that effect, to say, do you have any prior relations with people who either worked in that podcast? And if that is the case, would that then not be the reason why you want to elevate certain issues of GBV above the other more important issues, or rather not more important, equally important cases of GBV which are there? Do we not wish that Xwexwe's mother had a friend in ANC politicians or had friends in higher places? Do we not wish that the 13-year-old teenage pregnant girl from Sishiro had friends in higher places who could elevate their cases to parliament? Do we not wish that the victims of rape of Omotoso had friends in ANC politicians and friends in higher places who could take and elevate their cases to such institutions? Do we not wish the many women and children in South Africa who are ignored, who are neglected, who are overlooked, had friends in higher places or relatives in higher places who would be able to elevate their issues to be discussed at this level? It doesn't happen. We don't see it happening. So I take exception. I think these are very questionable characters which are bringing these cases before parliament. If this portfolio committee chair, which I would support, by the way, wants to look into this matter, I think we must do it independently as a portfolio committee without any outside influence from people who are coming from this ministry or this department, because they've not shown us any intention of resolving the genuine issues which are affecting women and children in South Africa. But they want to nitpick and choose certain cases because perhaps it becomes personal to them because they are related or they've got friendships with one or two of these South African celebrities. So I submit my submissions and comments. Thank you, Chair.
So, what does it mean? The African National Congress, DICO. DICO is, of course, Ntako says she must just shush. She must just shush. Look, by the way, let me give you an interview that I did with. I'm taking back from what Ntako Shivambu said, that she was away. So let me give you an interview that I did with Sihle, but let me put it at the end. Let me put it at the end, and then let me just keep going. Just stay in, and you'll see how Kusela Diko, when she came back, I interviewed her as a podcaster, and I'm surprised she wants podcasters to go. So, I mean, this is so embarrassing. Does she understand the law? People have been saying on social media, our parliament is so rich with skills that are underutilized. Our parliament has people who can do things, but they are not being done because they are not being prioritized. This minister, by the way, and a lot of people don't know, this minister, Mmapaseka Steve, is responsible for issues like justice for Xwexwe, is responsible for making sure that the statistics of teenage this are seen by everyone, and people who have made teenagers to be mothers must be pursued, must be blah, blah, blah. She must just expose it for us. But what did she choose? She chose one of the most ridiculous things that she could choose. And like Sihle said, and I said before, the reason I myself find it very ridiculous for her is she's actually not helping Minnie Dlamini. She's embarrassing Minnie Dlamini even more. And I want to repeat, can you imagine what would MacG have said if he was to that portfolio committee? He doesn't work for government, he does not work for government institutions, he doesn't work for Chapter 9. He cares little about what those people do. And he would have, can you imagine MacG then speaking to her about other things? Let me give an example. Do you remember that ANC, okay, it's more than one, ANC mamas who took clothes off, who were victims of, and who were in corrupt relationship with? Imagine if MacG goes then and does these things. Because what it would then done is it would embarrass even more people. So someone will say, yeah, Mashiane, you are protecting MacG. No. If she thinks MacG is wrong, there are avenues for her to pursue. Indeed, there are. There are criminal injury, there are defamation, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things in South Africa. We live in a beautiful country. There are a lot of avenues for her to pursue. But not to say all podcasters are. We're talking about it's the ANC. We're talking about a fourth estate that was fought for, a fourth estate that was negotiated at Codesa. We're talking about people who fought against censorship when they would ban everything. So now it's the ANC that wants to ban podcasters. An unemployed guy with a mic who just wants to speak and to speak to other people of like-minded attitudes and of course skewed perceptions of how the world works. And if we could talk to each other, we make relevance to each other, then we can ignore mainstream news. Ntsako Bambu says these people are angry because now this alternative media of podcasting has offered the public alternative news that cannot be controlled by them. What does he mean by that? What he means is the commercial medias, that medium, print, radio, and it's controlled by white monopoly capital. We know who they are. And of course, it's controlled by the SABC. So these two people control the powers that be. These ones control this one. So they have a monopoly on voices in South Africa. So one of their control, their institution against MacG is to channel him to speak about what he wants. And unfortunately, they are wrong in this regard. Diko and Mmapaseka Steve. But it's just not only me. You've seen the feedback on Twitter. People are very angry at them for defending something that is. You can support Minnie Dlamini, and I'm all for that. If she thinks she's been done wrong, take her, go to the right institutions for assistance, whether it's Human Rights Commission, whatever it is, and let MacG go and defend himself. And MacG will, of course, bring his own files to say, then, now that we are done with me, I'm putting another case against you for doing this, this, and that. And let the contest be there, not in Parliament, not in the National Assembly. Those portfolio committees have far more important things to do than the issues of celebrity squabbles. These are celebrity squabbles. Mashiane Politicallyincorrect, I'm so disappointed with the African National Congress. So disappointed. Anyway, Sihle whipped her very good. It whipped her very good. I feel sorry for, and like I said, I'm embarrassed on her behalf. And you know what, what this thing does? Because we've got serious opposition against her ideas, then it looks like we have problems with her and her identity, of which is not. And then it looks like we've got a problem with Minnie and her personality, and of which is not. But we are defending a right of using our institutions for frivolous things. I mean, just rewind and listen to Sihle again. It's exactly what, I mean, Sihle says, I've been on the ground. I do not know you. Let me tell you, I think I've met her once. I think met her looks like it's a mutual thing. I've seen her once on the ground. I've seen her in Peli. Yeah, I've seen her in Peli, in Atteridgeville. Yeah, I think I did. So, but I reached out. I asked comrades to maybe to give me her contacts, the ones that I think they knew her stance with podcasters, and I think they knew what we're going to speak about. So majority of those that I asked, their numbers said they don't have it. Maybe in fear of she might turn around and say, who gave you the numbers? And they want to stay clear because, you know, people don't trust each other. They think I might expose. But be that as it may, I tried in vain to get the department, to get her through the department, because, you know, one of these things is the space that we work in, because we are podcasters, the bureaucratic and red tape channels of trying to secure someone is very painstaking for our medium of information dissemination. So our medium is always better to hear it from the source. This is who I am. Do you want to do this with me? If she wants to dance, let's dance. If she doesn't, then I understand. The painstaking way of talking to this spokesperson who will talk to the head of this, and then it comes back. It's very difficult to do, and then this is why you find after 3 years, the person says, how much have you been looking for me for 3 years? I did not know. Believe me, they do that a lot to us, because they will reject you using someone. And when you come to them, then they cozy up to you, say they never knew that you wanted to speak to them. But anyway, Mashiane Politically Incorrect. It is what it is. I'm so well, delighted is another word. I'm so delighted that someone put her in a place in a respectful manner, because then she simply did not swear. Let's leave it at that. Mashiane Politically Incorrect. Eat it up.
Talking to yourself now, where have you been?
Like President Mbeki, I never went anywhere. No, I've been here, I suppose, not really in the public domain, really over the last 4 years, but I've remained a member of the African National Congress. I was recently elected into the National Executive Committee, and I'm still working for the state in whatever capacity that we're able to serve.
Of course, this relates, or it's sparked by what had happened on the 24th of April, where a popular podcast, in this case, Mr. Mokwebo, which he's referred to as MacG, made those remarks that are disparaging towards the media personality, Ms. Dlamini, by referring to what he asserts are possible reasons why Ms. Dlamini supposedly an inability to keep a man on account of what he believes may be her unpleasant genital odor, by crudely so asserting maybe her crotch smells or something, and that is the utterance that was put forward. In his comments, Mr. Mokwebo insinuated that the reason behind the termination of Ms. Dlamini's past relationship is, of course, in part due to the scent of her genitalia, where he iterates those comments. And Ms. MacG's statements immediately sparked a wide range of responses from his followers and others on social media, polarizing a heated conversation on various social media platforms between those who support his platform and unchecked, in this case, freedom of speech, and those who called for accountability and withdrawal of his utterances as they grossly so encroach on Ms. Dlamini's freedom and security of person, dignity, and the right to equality as enshrined in our Constitution.
With what Honorable Kanyile said, one of the problems that we have is lack of consequences. So for me, I would ask that we seek legal advice and we not accept an apology to ourselves. There are different spheres of government. We should be part of the complainant as the aggrieved party, not the one that hears how we've been aggrieved. We should be on the side of the victim, that is all women in this country. So I would like us to get an opinion about us going to lay a charge of criminal injury. If a charge has already been laid, we become an amicus to the case so that there should be accountability. I don't want us to sit in a situation where somebody comes, there's a lot of pressure, they apologize, and you are not getting the law to adjudicate on this matter as to whether men have rights to possess women's bodies, to be derogatory about women. We need to take it to the sphere of government that needs to deal with it. So my humble suggestion, Chair, would be to concur with Honorable Kanyile that we get a legal opinion about being a complainant, laying a charge of criminal injury against this gentleman. And I use the term gentleman advisedly. So for me, Chair, let us be a complainant. And it should not be dependent on what their legal people have done. If we are the ones, we are the committee that protects women's rights. We're a committee that is dealing with this gender-based violence that is perpetrated by misogyny from men. Let us be the complainant. That would be my take. I wouldn't take the easy route of summoning somebody, we're spending money, and we got no powers to censure that person. Because I feel this is a crime against all women. And it should be tried in a court of law. Just like has been done with people that have had derogatory terms about other ethnic groups, and they've been taken to court for that type of language. We should, as a committee, consider being a complainant and lay a charge of criminal injury amongst other charges. We'll listen to advice. Defamation would be issues of the person saying, I've been defamed. But we can, on behalf of all women, ensure that men understand that they do not have control over women's bodies. And it's about time that this matter went to court and we use the resources that back us up to be the complainant. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable members, I think then that we will step off the item for now. We will not be calling MacG to appear before our portfolio committee at this stage. We will support your complaint, Honourable Deputy Minister, to the BCCSA. We will also encourage you to finalise your discussions with Ms. Minnie and to encourage her to open a case with SAPS and to follow due process. We will follow the work that the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies will do in terms of what they've already indicated, that they would like to look at regulations to regulate the podcast industry. We know that the print media and radio is currently regulated, but we know that there is not an oversight body for podcasts or online content. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
Fully stand and fully support all the victims of gender-based violence, and where justice needs to be done, we are definitely going to intervene. But at this point in time, I think we will be overreaching if we decide to mediate on this matter.
Regulation of online media platforms such as podcast to ensure that the messaging on these platforms adheres to the Constitution and various other pieces of legislation that governs what is acceptable speech in our society as empowered by the right to freedom of expression. The matter will also, of course, as I've asserted in my letter, be referred to the constitutional statutory bodies for investigation, including but not limited to the Commission for Gender Equality, which also accounts here, the South African Human Rights Commission, and the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa, and of course, definitely the South African Police Service, as it may be legally plausible, among others. The legislations that we have, Madam Chair, these legislation pieces, which institute checks and balances on freedom of expression, include but are not limited to the one that I've listed for yourself: the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act, the Prevention and the Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Act, the Cyber Crimes Act, the Protection from Harassment Act, and the Films and Publication Amendment Act. These are just amongst others. We raise these issues sharply, Madam Chair, because Mr. Mokwebo weighs considerably influence in South Africa's social discourse, with a following of at least 1.5 million viewers subscribed to his YouTube channel, notwithstanding countless scores of South Africans who access his content on Moja Love channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other social media platforms readily available to the public. I think indeed one thing we appreciate as a department is also to highlight that podcasts are innovative spaces. We